Go, 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 go! Go, 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 go! Go, 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 go,
Matte black. No reflections anywhere on the body. Not one. 4 bumpers, heavy chrome, welded from 18-gauge steel into something that looks less like trim and more like teeth. This car was built to kill people on camera in 1977, and somewhere along the way, 3 of the 4 ever made stopped existing. What happened to the 4th depends entirely on who you ask. Jay Leno says all of them are gone. Other people say one is still out there, sitting in a private collection, owned by someone who doesn't talk about it. That's the assumption this episode is built to break. You'd think a horror movie car either ends up preserved behind glass in a museum, or it gets crushed and forgotten the day the production wrapped. Neither is reliably true. Some of these vehicles vanished and resurfaced decades later. Some were never lost at all. They just kept working, quietly, the whole time. And some are gone in a way nobody can even explain because nobody thought to write down what happened next. 10 vehicles. 4 different kinds of fate. Here's what actually happened to each one. Number 1. Christine, the fury that wouldn't stay lost. 20-some cars went into building one Plymouth Fury. Most of them were Belvederes and Savoys, painted and trimmed to pass for the real thing, because a genuine '58 Fury was rare enough that the production could only get its hands on one. Most of those 20-some cars were destroyed for the cameras. What's left is smaller and stranger than people expect. 2 to 3 original cars are confirmed to have survived the shoot. Accounts vary slightly depending on how you count a car rebuilt from parts versus a car left mostly intact. One sat for years in a private collection before landing at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Another passed through a Barrett-Jackson auction, then a Rochester museum, then sold again for figures north of $250,000. These are documented. Paper trails, auction records, ownership titles that name the production company itself. Then there's the one that didn't stay documented. A third Christine was raffled off through an MTV promotion not long after the film's release. Somewhere after that, the trail goes cold. No auction record, no collector interview, no museum placard. It's not confirmed destroyed. It's not confirmed anywhere. It's just gone. The same way the character in the film kept threatening to be. Quietly, without an ending anyone can point to. Number 2. The car, the Lincoln nobody agrees on. 4 1971 Lincoln Continental Mark IIIs went into building this one. George Barris, the same customizer behind the 1966 Batmobile, chopped the roofline, raised the body, and built a custom grille out of square steel tubing until it looked less like a luxury car and more like something that wanted to bite. 3 of the 4 were stunt cars, built to take damage. One was the hero car, reserved for close-ups. Here's where the story splits. Jay Leno has said publicly that all 4 were eventually destroyed, no survivors. Other sources, including car collectors who claim direct knowledge, say the hero car exists today, held by an anonymous private owner who has no interest in going public. Both versions have been repeated for years. Neither has been definitively proven. This isn't a case of conflicting rumors from unreliable corners of the internet. It's a genuine disagreement between people who'd have a reason to know, and no documentation has surfaced to settle it either way. That's worth sitting with. Most of the vehicles in this list have a fate you can point to. This one has 2 competing claims from credible sources, and the correct answer might just never surface. Number 3. Jeepers Creepers, the truck that might still run. The Creepers truck was never a stock vehicle. It started as a 1941 Chevy heavy-duty COE, a cab-over-engine work truck, the kind where the driver sits directly over the front axle. And the production built 3 of them for the first film. Only 2 were functional. The third existed purely for static shots, too fragile or too incomplete to actually drive. What happened to those 3 afterward is thinner ground than Christine or the car, but not empty. There's a documented case of a 1941 Chevy COE, attributed to work by the film's effects team, now in the hands of a private owner running on its original six-cylinder engine with a modernized fuel system. Whether this is a genuine screen-used survivor or a closely built trivial constructed from the same era of truck is a distinction that hasn't been fully nailed down in available sourcing, reported, not confirmed. What is confirmed is that the truck's design has spawned an active replica building culture. Gearheads tracking down 1941 and 1942 COEs specifically because this one film made a forgotten work truck into a horror icon. Number 4. The Wraiths, the interceptor that went missing for 7 years. Before it was the Wraiths' ghost car, the M4S was a Chrysler technology demonstrator, a mid-engine four-cylinder pace car built for the PPG IndyCar series, engineered to hit 200 miles an hour. It never went into production. Its only real fame came from an 88-screen 1986 release that most people missed in theaters. The production built 6 copies for filming, 2 stunt cars from the molds of the original, 4 non-drivable dummies destroyed in the making of the film. The genuine M4S itself was reserved for close-ups. After the film wrapped, it lived at the Walter P. Chrysler Museum in Auburn Hills for years, until the museum closed permanently in 2016. From that point, nobody could confirm where it was. Not fan forums, not automotive journalists, nobody. 7 years of silence. Then it resurfaced, not lost, not destroyed, just quietly acquired by comedian Jeff Dunham, who now keeps it as part of a personal collection and has loaned it to the Peterson Automotive Museum. The car people assumed had disappeared for good had simply changed hands privately the whole time. Number 5. Duel, the one that never left. Spielberg's Peterbilt 351 doesn't have a missing persons case attached to it. It's one of the most documented vehicles on this list, tracked through ownership, restoration, and display history in a level of detail most of these cars never got. It was never lost, never quietly resold to an anonymous buyer, never the subject of a decades-long "where is it Mao" tread. It simply kept existing, the way most trucks do. That's worth including here specifically because it breaks the pattern. Not every horror-adjacent vehicle has a mystery attached. Some of them just survive, boringly, because someone took care of them. Number 6. Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, the one that never left either. Ash's 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88, the classic, as Sam Raimi calls it, was never a prop in the way the other vehicles on this list were props. It was his own car, originally his father's, handed down to him and his brother in college. He used it in his earliest Super 8 films before it ever appeared in The Evil Dead in 1981. It's appeared in nearly every film he's directed since: Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, where it gets armored and spiked and turned into a makeshift war machine, and later in Spider-Man, Drag Me to Hell, and beyond. Reportedly, parts of the disassembled car were even worked into set pieces for Oz the Great and Powerful. This car was never missing. It's never been auctioned, never disappeared into a private collection, never needed to be tracked down by fans. It's just been driven, on and off camera, by the same director for over 4 decades. If Christine and the Car represent the horror genre's most famous disappearing acts, this is the opposite instinct entirely, a vehicle that became iconic by simply never leaving. 4 vehicles, 4 gaps in the record. The Cat D9 bulldozer from 1974's Killdozer has no sale record, no collector who's ever claimed it, no auction listing, nothing. It's not rumored destroyed, it's not rumored preserved, it simply isn't referenced anywhere past the production itself, which, for a vehicle from a cult television movie, might mean it was simply returned to construction work and quietly used until it wore out, the way most bulldozers eventually do. Rusty Nail's Peterbilt 359 EHXD from 2001's Joyride is similarly undocumented. Everything findable about it describes what it does on screen, nothing about where it came from or where it went. No off-screen story has surfaced. The pursuit vehicles from 1986's Hitcher, the police cruisers and semis chased through the film, remain thin enough that a confident fate claim isn't possible with what's currently sourced. And K.A.R., Kit's evil twin counterpart from Knight Rider, sits in a strange position. The general Kit fleet is unusually well documented, roughly 30 cars built, 5 confirmed survivors scattered across museums and private collections. K.A.R., as its own distinct physical prop, doesn't have that same separate paper trail. It may share a chassis history with the wider Kit fleet, or it may not. Reported but unverified is the most honest way to leave it. 4 vehicles, 4 blank spots. Not every horror movie car gets a Wikipedia page and an auction house appraisal. Most of them just work on set, get returned, get sold for parts, or get scrapped without anyone thinking to note it. These are the majority, not the exception. Christine and the car are the vehicles people remember precisely because most vehicles don't get remembered at all. If you're chasing any of this yourself, what's actually available depends entirely on which tier a vehicle falls into. Christine and the Wraith have real market data behind them. 6-figure auction results, documented ownership chains, valuations from Haggerty and similar sources that track collector demand tied directly to the films. If you want a piece of that history, you're buying into an established market, not speculating. The K.A.R.R and Jeepers Creepers truck sit in murkier territory. No confirmed survivor to buy, but active replica and tribute build communities. People sourcing period-correct 1971 Lincoln Continentals or 1941 Chevy COEs and recreating the film versions from scratch, sometimes with startling accuracy. That's a realistic entry point if the original isn't findable or doesn't exist anymore. For Killdozer, Joyride, the Hitcher, and K.A.R.R., there's honestly nothing to buy into. No verified survivor, no active replica scene built specifically around these vehicles the way there is for the others. If you're drawn to these 4, the appeal is the mystery itself, not a collector's market. If you want to go further than the surface, the specific auction records, what a Fury or an M4S actually costs to bring home today, the parts sourcing that goes into a real creeper build, that's a deeper conversation than a single video can hold. It's the kind of thing that's easier to work through with people who are chasing the same details, which is exactly what's happening inside the community. 10 vehicles. 2 people can't agree whether one of them still exists. 4 of them left no trail at all. It's easy to assume Hollywood tracks everything it builds. Call sheets, insurance records, someone somewhere keeping a ledger. Most of the time, that assumption is wrong. A car gets built for 6 weeks of filming, gets driven hard, and then gets handed off to whoever's willing to take it. A raffle winner, a scrapyard, a construction company that needed a working bulldozer and didn't much care what movie it had been in. Somewhere out there, a 50-year-old Cat D9 might still be moving dirt on a job site, completely unaware it was ever famous. Nobody wrote it down. That's not a mystery with an ending. It's just what happens to most things eventually, horror movie car or not.